Two me's, two teams facing off now in an important matchup where they are facing off against each other to earn a spot to get into the promotion games. Everything's to play for now to head into the grand finals of the FACEIT Masters playoffs. So obviously we've got Quick Esports up against Frosttails in a match in the upper bracket playoffs. It should be a good one. Yes, my name is Gio. I'll be casting for you today, alongside, well, my lonesome. But, you know, we've done this before, we can do this again, and that's what both of these teams are thinking. Now, very quickly, before we start this matchup, Frosttails has beaten Quick Esports 3-0 in their last time. But, Quick Esports, they've been bringing it back. They took out TA quite convincingly. Just as convincingly as Kyo takes Zydra out, though, and they're looking to make it a continuation of the whether these teams have faced off against each other. Willis has gotten some trades and continues to be a presence here, creating the space, but Kyo's just got enough room to play with there, gets bounced back on the wall, and Willis is doing God's work right now, actually. Allows Dip to get back, takes out Pack, and very much on the back of Willis, Quick Esports are able to regain control, and only be a couple percentage there for Frosttails. And you know what? I'm feeling like this is the sort of vibe we're going to have for this match, where these teams just continue to face off against each other, and Willis was given just so much room there. They need to be aware of that next time. Of course, you give them too much space. They're just going to build up that railgun, take someone's head off, and that's what they're aiming for. Hello, Willis has spotted, Crocs has spotted, Zydra's used his slide there. Let's take them out, of course, to Lucio. Keep them alive, Natsuki with them. Dep falls down. Those jagged spikes, now it's a fight on point. Downpour's ready here. From Willis already, Kitsune Rush is going to open it. Kyo just gets swiped out of there. Kiwi and Crocs though continue to clean up in the back end of things as the Kitsune Rush on their end begins to give them a little bit more prospect. The differences here is that the fact that Pack is on Tracer means, you know, with Dip on the Genji, it's a little bit easier for Dip to follow up on burst damage, where Pack can be a constant nuisance in the backline to try and bring out those resources. There's the overclock coming out from Kyo. Dangerous, but followed up with the downpour is going to be enough. Not going to be enough. Crocs just is eating them up for breakfast. And yeah, Frosttails very much had control there. Quick Esports, of course, you know, you get the downpour, but Willis was so cut off at that point. Everyone else was downpoured inside that room and just couldn't even see Willis to help them out there. That blade still ready from Dip. Looking to build up overclock from Zydra also. Not really anything defensive from Frosttails, so expecting Quick to come in here quite quickly, but already lost Zydra. They're going to have to lean on the blade here to get the elimination. Pack goes down, and that's enough for them to gesture onto point. Crocs is still looking to take everything he can, not give them this point for free, and it's not a bad position actually for Quick Esports, as they're able to hold on to both their overclock and their soundbar, coming up to their own rush. Iwi's coming up to Kitsune Rush as well. Crocs a little sooner to downpour. The Quick Esports, I'd say, at the moment do have a bit of an advantage, but what they really want to watch is not overspending their pennies here in this fight. Oh, that would have been perfect if Willis could catch them off. You're just able to back up just in time. There's the overclock opening it up, but immediately, of course, Frosttails completely expected this, and with only the speed boost used, they're able to just back up off of it. Quick Esports, so they still have their both support ultimates, but Kiwi can now match on the Kitsune Rush, and Crocs will be able to pin them down. Kiwi goes down immediately. Kitsune Rush, it did go out though, so Frosttails have the buff from that ultimate, as they're still in this fight. Dip facing off against Kyo, looking to get the finish. Kyo is able to heal up on the health pack here, as we are heading into overtime. Last chance here for Frosttails to turn this. Down barrier comes out, right into downpour. Now that dangerous position Zydra was in, Croc's able to follow up with the wall as well. And now the chips begin to fall. Willis is going to go down, holds on to Downpour. That'll be their only way to get back onto point if they can't even touch it. Will be panics there, and the Zydra on the Tracer even just trying to get through. They're just pressing the issue, forcing the overclock here, and the likelihood of anyone touching this point falls to 0. So yeah, very back and forth so far. I'd say Frosttails seem to be a little bit quicker on understanding the at least their ult rotations are looking a bit better, bit cleaner. They very much knew what the plan was when it came to counteracting Zydra's overclock, just speeding out of there, not trading ultimates, put them in a much better position. Yeah, both these teams, they've had good runs of it. Quick Esports, just coming off a match where they did very well against TA, who, before that matchup against TA, only Frosttails had beaten TA. Both the teams that have had victories against TA face off. Of course, it's all to play for. It's not the last chance for these teams, but of course, you don't want to get to your last chance. You want to have every advantage that you can. He was just going to stand back here, protected by Crocs. Splintering in to build up this overclock. 100 charge now. Everyone's in danger when Q's on 100 charge. Just looking for that opportunity, but they're well aware. Zydra's also high charge. Sojourn's exchanging shots to follow up. Not quite there yet. Crocs in a bit of a tough position, taking lots of hurt, but is able to push onto the squishies there. Zip will fall to Kyo, who again builds up that railgun. Kyo going down to the wall. Gogo finding their other Lucio, and Frosttails continue to have the center of the board. Esports realize they don't have the point. Just best to back up here. Both Genjis here on the sides, teeing off. Crocs is right there to help. Natsuki just gets walled off and back to spawn, and without that speed, you have such less movement, less ability to peel as well for your squishies when they get hard pressed. And Esports again, just failing to get through. They've got a Kitsune rush on both sides here. Crocs is closer to that downpour, so that's going to help it. There's the Kitsune rushes from both sides, but that wall's perfectly placed there by Crocs. Cause enough dismay. Downpour also comes out here, and they're able to clean up. Well, this is going to be the last one to fall, and Frosttails have just such a strong control here on this point. Holding onto the sound barrier as well, which they are just about to build up. Blade from both Genjis pretty much at the same percentage here. But the fact that Gogo has sound barrier so much sooner means that they could just win this fight based off of the blades here. Willis gonna look for Downpour first. Is able to catch Gogo, who needs to beat for themselves. Dip going down. Pack didn't even need to blade for it, which is a great patience shown by Pack to not pull the blade too early. Now it's the last 10%, and they've got the blade. Pack actually goes down with the blades. Dip able to take them out with their own. The dueling cyber ninjas, but there ain't no touch on the point. And it was fast, it was efficient. And definitely on that point, it was not as back and forward. We saw Frosttails really step forward, ahead of the game there. They just seemed to be a little bit tighter on their rotations, both in terms of cooldowns and in ultimates. There was just a little bit of displacement on quick esports, which Frosttails are just definitely making use of. Those little moments where someone's just a little bit more out of position, they're able to follow up on. What I'd say is, you know, being able to get those eliminations without using the blade in the second to last fight, that definitely helped their cause. Because it meant that they had the confidence to hold so far forward. I don't think they would have done that without the blade. At least they would have been less confident in doing so. Even though they lost the Blade and Dip won out in the Blade duel, by the time that elimination came through, they just couldn't touch. And we are rolling. I didn't have a chance to actually check what was actually banned in that map there. But of course, now both teams choosing their bans. Definitely felt like Frosttails had the edge on the Hazard. Not in terms of like the kind of core like actual players of the Hazard, but actually like the whole like team working together around that Hazard comp. They just felt a little bit more tighter. Esports need to shake off that first map and then hit back hard here. Just finalizing the lineups. Waiting for the bans. Well, I was quite surprised. I was quite surprised that Incendia are out of the playoffs so soon. That's something that's kind of shocked me. Some people were saying that Incendia would have been the crux of Quick Esports, and I wasn't as confident on that. Incendia, they had really good pieces. They did have a bit of a roster change halfway through. They did look good. They had a bit of a comeback, but you know, kind of shocking how quickly they're out of the playoffs. I would have expected them to go a bit further. Of course, in the lower bracket. With the match of TA versus Eris. Eris who 3-0'd 0907. TA had quite a close game against Wasp. TA not looking as dominant as they were in the old patch, in the regular season. Perhaps some of those balance changes has changed the tide, or perhaps the teams have just gone a bit more used to TA. The rogue team, the team without an org. Would like to see TA go further, but of course Eris have opponents there to go up against. And apparently, Commander X is using the same SRT link, so we're sharing observers, which is funny. And yeah, lots of people asking for some loot box openings. Oh god, I just saw is that 81 loot boxes open? That's a bit mad. That's a bit insane. I think we need to get some of those open. I don't know how you could do that. I would see that number flash up on my screen and I would need to open them. 100%. Maybe we'll get a loot box opening at some point. But, getting back into the match. More bans. Okay. It looks like Diva and Lucio are the bans now.
We should begin.
The defense here, Frosttails. Croc's going to be going for the Junker Queen. Perhaps just looking to keep controlling this kind of forward red building. In the past, a great position for tanks with vertical movement, but now there's a little left there. Queen can get up there, rest her weary crown. It's just going to make it difficult for Willis to position here to create opportunities for their own deep. Yes! Oh, Croc just falls off there. I think the boop from the wall was enough to just kind of reposition them forcibly off of that elevator, and yeah, immediately that first hold will fall. The good thing about this composition is holding up so far means you can have multiple other chances. That's the idea of close holds. But Croc's already swapping over to Ramatra. We've seen lots of play from Ramatra. Definitely a good brawl poke choice at the moment. Definitely one in terms of the perks. Getting those perks. That extra damage in the Nemesis form means that they're a little bit more lethal in that form. Of course, the other major perks as well. Both definitely viable. And she's just teeing off there. Danger zone for Yoham, who's just going to get bullied into the corner and just deleted. Yeah, Dep's going to clean up Crocs and Pack. And here we go. This is what we wanted to see. This is the quick esports that we watch and believe in as they fly forward here Frosttails eventually are going to concede that they have to play the Hazard. Hazard just able to have so much burst damage. You followed that up with a Genji, you're just deleted. Control Alt Delete. Open the task manager. Close the program. Force close it. They are talking a lot here, very talkative in the chat. Crocs for a moment was just standing still right in front of Willis. Opportunity could have been there, but we'll call it sportsmanship. That we didn't see a follow-up on the standing still of Crocs. Yoham on this kind of far angle here. Of course, very always the character to be great on an off angle. Opportunity to take out Hack. They're just able to get back just in time. Overclock here from Zyder as they push the issue, but they've slid in quite far. They don't quite have the support that they need to stay alive. That was an unsustainable position. Downpour from Willis is going to keep the fight going in their side. Kitsune Rush also from Yoham, but still Pack is just in there infiltrating the backline and will take them out. Still decent time bank, 3 minutes 40. Esports not in any rush as of yet, but Frosttails, they have so many of these ultimates here. I mean, is Natsuki going to trade the beam for any of these? Frosttails have shown they are very good at not overspending. There's the beam. Crocs immediately takes Natsuki out of it. Go with the beam, Pack with the blade, and that's gonna clean it up. And yeah, it's a trade. It's a orbital ray for an orbital ray and blade. So it's a fair trade. You get 2 of their ultimates out of it for it. Of course, you now need to contend with the rest of them. In terms of ultimates here, you're just looking at Willis to try and build this downpour, but with the ability of Kyo on this off angle, who's already sneaking around, looking for this overclock before we already begin with a great position. And there it is, just popping off. Deppa actually takes Pack out. A great wall placement from Willis means Kyo can't immediately follow up, even with that extra 50 energy when using the ultimate. Now the Kitsune Rush from Kiwi to keep the Frosttails momentum up, but Kiwi going down, which means both DPS out here for Frosttails. Willis on 30 HP. Just about gets the heals. They're actually going to spend the cleanse for that, which they might kind of wish that they have later in this fight. Since Crocs is still able to use the downpour, and that's what comes out. It is traded, and yeah, Crocs immediately just going to feel the heart. That cleanse was good to keep Crocs up, but even Kiwi can't keep Crocs up against so much pain. They're also pulling the blade out of the sheath as they roll forward here. And of course, such a important match in the FACEIT Masters League, and we've got googly eyes on the payload. Sometimes it just happens. But 3 minutes on the time bank. This is brilliant for Quick Esports. They're already positioning on this high ground, forcing Frosttails to come to them, push them off, spend that resource. They're just looking for that assassination if they can just find anyone. Yoham gets the best of Kiwi. Yoham's always been a very strong empirical player, able to show their strength there against Kiwi, but Fox finding Dip. Gonna make it harder for Zyder to have follow-up here on this overclock, because they're not as confident to push forward, but Kyo decided to peek there. And well, they've definitely learned that lesson to not do so in the future. Natsuki takes Pack out of it, and Frosttails need to really consider their position here as they back up. Still playing for this high ground. You can't let Quick Esports just have this one for free. Orbital Ray ready from Natsuki. Gogo's at 90. Here comes the Orbital Ray coming out there. They have to back up. There is no response. Kyo very low. You need to keep Kyo alive. We need to see this overclock from Frosttails. In fact, we might even not need to see it. Gogo goes down, but they do get their ultimate out first. Kyo goes very aggressive, drops. But Crocs is doing the work with the extra damage and boost from the Orbital Ray, able to finish up. And they're able to hold on to both Kitsune Rush and their overclock. They put themselves in a great position here. We're really looking at probably an overtime fight. You can trade Yoham's rush for Kiwi's rush. Willis can try and get downpour for overclock. But with the extra downpour from Frosty, it's going to be hard to really equalize things. There's a trade of the Kitsune rush. Well, actually, no, Kiwi has used it. Quick Esports is actually backed up. So Yoham, very great decision here from Quick Esports to hold on to Yoham's Kitsune rush. And now that spread of ultimates in the arsenal looking a lot more even. Quick Esports making more opportunity for themselves in this fight. You're just peltering Willis with so much damage and has to use the wall defensively. Kiwi taking out Dip at the start of this fight's great pack. Amazing tracking onto Natsuki. Sends the Martian back to spawn. And yeah, Kyo has used the overclock. Probably could have held on to it, honestly, but Kitsune out from Yoham, you did need something. Zydra, of course, with their overclock. Defensively, we only really have this pulse bomb. Pack has been spotted, was looking for Tide. Yeah, went right for Zydra, knew if they could take Zydra out, that would be it. Oh, a very far back overclock here. Wells goes down though, so they do need something. Dip has also used the blade and just went right to the point. This will get them push here, but in terms of actually capturing this point, it's going to be a bit tough. The Doomfist from Willis, just to get there fast enough so that Dip doesn't feel pressured yet. Natsuki really needs to build this orbital ray up fast, 90% to it. As long as they stay alive, as Zydra kind of pokes in from this angle, just trying to create pain points for Frosttails, not make it easy for them just to rotate out contesting until they get something. Tsuni Rough from Kiwi. Natsuki goes down to Crocs while Orbital Ray was ready. That will be it. That's the final nail in the coffin. Kiwi able to build that Kitsune rush as well. As Frosttails hold on to Dorado, they don't let Quick Esports go any further. And they've created for themselves a win condition on third point. Meaning, of course, Quick Esports, they need to hold the map. They can't let Frosttails get too far. I always like to bring up the psychological aspect of that though. When you're in a mode that has extra rounds if you complete the map, when you don't get that, what you need to get those extra maps, those extra rounds, there's a psychology behind it where like you feel the wall behind you. You're gonna fight out a bit harder. You know, you corner someone, you're gonna fight harder. Always like to talk about that psychology. It's always my viewpoint. That's the viewpoint that Quick Esports need to have, at least. They can't let themselves get in their own head. Quick Esports, I'm not going to change too much. They're just going to rotate the back line. Yoham now picking up the Juno. Natsuki on the brig. The support duo, very good at keeping each other alive. Lots of healing there. Very good defensive backline. You know, it's harder to get as many aggressive angles as the Kiriko, so Yoham's not going to get as much benefit from it. Right now, Frosttails still on this kind of Junker Queen comp. Starting out with the Ana, yep, there we go. Perfectly done. The nade was exactly designed to do that. Hugh takes out Dip. Oh man, that was just beautiful. You could tell that they had practiced that lineup there. Yeah. Very reminiscent of the first defensive fight for Frosttails as well. They continue to be on the Junker Queen, who is herself a winner in the perks. Being able to reload on Shout's huge, but Willis just got a little bit caught, hit by the Gracie. The movement displacement enough to get them in a tough spot. Called up on. See Zydra just doing their best to hit shots, trying to get something to trade, but unable to do so. Esports are just forced into a position where they had to play on the point, and Crocs is relentless in the chat. You know, you have to do this in a way. You know, hate it or love it, it's a strategy. Get into the mind of your opponent. You see it in boxing, you see it in MMA, you see it in literally every competitive sport. Of course, you're also going to see it here. Nice wall placement from Willis. He's actually going to catch Kiwi out. They got hit by kind of a combo of those bounces on the wall. I know from Kyo means that Wellis needs to wall themselves off, is a bit alone, and they're gonna get hunted. Of course, able to walk, why not? Get up the high ground, get away from them. Frog's looking at this rampage. No Suzu to stop it. You could see a stun from Natsuki, but they don't have the rally yet. Web shot as well could mess it up. Yoham coming up to orbital ray a bit quicker than Gogo, but they're still very close. Kiwi always quick to get that Kitsune rushed. Of course, as I've talked about on this attack, more opportunities for off angles. Not only did Zydra get hit by the Gracie pulled out, but the slide went further into the side of Frosttails. And, well, you're not really going to survive very much there, are you? See, the rest are quick. They need to back up on this angle, on this left side of the map, high ground. They'll look to contest. They have Orbital Ray. Of course, Gogo's going to have their assist fight as well. Kitsune Rush is going to be a tough point, but Dep... Oh! Was about to pull Blade, I feel. When it goes down, Orbital Ray is matched with Kitsune Rush, but Wellis with the anti-effect of the Rampage from Crocs cannot get the healing in time, and yeah, Frosttails are just continuing to look, I would say, comfortable. Like, it's beyond confident. This is comfort right here. This is a team that, you know, understands itself. They're playing well enough that, you know, if they get, when this match was very much they're looking like they will, then they're going to get into the finals, to get into the promotion matches. You could definitely see easily you could see either of these teams in OWCS, but Frosttails right now, the way that they're playing at their best of their ability, and they're doing so while talking absolute smack. Dep with the dash, gonna take Kyogo out. Kyo falls also, and Dep able to do that without pulling the blade is going to be very important. Just don't get taken out by Kiwi, who takes himself out with their own kunai. Natsuki got himself into a tough spot, gets taken out. But they can rest now. They did invest rally, but Natsuki's going to go on to the carry. Not the best heroes for both of these supports. And not that they're bad at them, but you would rather Yoham on the Kiriko. Or at least I personally would. Kyo's coming up to that overclock. It's going to match it with Zydra. And of course, with Gogo with Orbital Ray, Zydra's going to have nothing to be able to answer it. And yeah, Zydra pulled the overclock, and as soon as they saw it, the Orbital Ray came out just to give Kyo such extra damage, and there's nothing you can do in that regard. They're just going to bully them up. That payload's so close. Dep goes down to Pulse! That's a blade off the board for this final fight. Now it's Panic Stations you need to touch. You need to keep that point contested until Dep can come back and try and get this blade. But Wellis falls down. There's no dash available. Here comes the blade. This needs to be clutch. This needs to be massive. But they're just a little bit too far away from the point. And that's... was that a winnable fight? No, not really. Could they have clutched it out? Probably yes. Should they have been closer to the point? Yeah, they should have been closer to the point. But the main point is that Frosttails are now 2-0 up now. And aside from the very start of Nepal, this looks pretty much one time. This is definitely Frosttails. They're comfortable. They're in the flow. They're not letting anything get into their minds about this. And they're very much playing the mind games of Quick Esports, who are... Yeah. They're definitely... I feel like they've been playing from behind since the start of this one, where they've not really looked like they've been on top of it very much. I mean, we've seen some great plays from the individual players, and like I said, the Nepal Village was the best that we've seen from them, but we now need to see a completely different team. They need to figure out what's not going well and get it together. Yes, and I don't believe we will be seeing Snowdrop or Skytar at any point today. Just rolling with this core 5. Esperanza. Looks like it's going to be the map 3. Of course, now they're just going to be voting bans. And when you think about the bans, you know, what are we going for? I mean, there's so... I would say Frost Sales are pretty confident here that anything gets banned and they can kind of feel comfortable enough. I mean, going on to Esperanza, you could play Hazard, you could play Queen. You can play what we've seen from them so far. There's nothing really that is going to threaten them. Bans. Finals being finalized, so we'll see what the bans are soon enough. But yeah, this is looking like sometimes the story repeats itself. Last time these teams met, Frost Tales had a different name, the Imperial, but still it was a 3-0. And at this point, they're not feeling any hurt, right? I mean, you've got Kyo on the team, who has been consistent with the Sojourn, giving Zydra a lot of competition. Not the easiest competition to go up against when you're going up against Kyo, and definitely feeling it. Frost Tales, the majority French team looking fairly confident in themselves. Of course, Kiwi being the one of these things does not look like the other in terms of nationality. But what a roster. And you could definitely see Frost Tales playing like that against some of the OWCS teams and definitely winning some matches. This whole season of Masters, I've been hyping up the fact that for the first time in Overwatch history, we can have a wildcard team. Not a player that we're excited for, but a team, a whole team, just come out of nowhere and just kind of shock the system. Definitely, we could see Frost Tales do that. When I say shock the system, I don't mean they're going to come out and start being, you know, Crazy Raccoons or Falcons or anything, but come out and have a great performance and get a top spot in Europe. Tough competition to do so, but they've got the players to be able to do it. They've got the mindset to be able to do it as well. Else being finalized last 20 seconds. We'll see what the bans are from both sides. This is Quick Esports on its last chance. They obviously will get sent to the lower bracket, where they'll need to either have a rematch against TA, or they'll have to face Eris. So they're not. This isn't the last chance for their playoffs run. This is just their last chance to have the best run towards getting into. Okay, Junker, Queen, and Juno are the bans, and can't quite see who banned what, but I imagine we can all work it out. Yeah, with Juno banned, you're thinking, okay, if we're wanting speed, we now need to play the Lucio. Otherwise, we could just go for a double flex support backline and not care too much about speed. We could have like a Chemical. Matching that with an Ana, it makes it risky for the Ana, but much riskier than when you'd have like a Juno in the Ana, because obviously that speed ring, very important utility. But nonetheless, we're heading into lobby now, and these teams will continue to battle. You know, after Wig's success against TA, you thought, you know, perhaps, you know, now the team is at its peak. Now the team's going to be able to take on teams that have been in the past, like Frost Tales. But right now, Frost Tales are just proving that life isn't quite a fairy tale. And sometimes you don't get the cinematic comeback that you want, or the superstar run that you want. That's reserved, is what Frost Tales would say. Reserved for us. Frost Tales, they've not actually had a clean match so far in the playoffs. They went very tooth and nail up against Wasp. 3-2 is what they beat Wasp, and then 3-1 0907. I was quite surprised that 0907 were actually able to take a map Frostales. That's a team that I know quite well. I've talked to some of their players in CGL as well, because they're in the CGL Open bracket. And they've got a good mindset for improvement. That's a team that has a really good mindset. And I'm sure they're happy with themselves that they finished top 8 and were able to get, you know, a bit deeper by beating Incendia. Beating Incendia is like no easy task. So 0907, they did really well themselves. Who else is out? Yeah, SRP check. They didn't have to. They did take Eris to a 5-map series, and I was watching that game. That was a good game, but after that, Eris just 3-0'd 0907, took it out. Of course, you know, if Quick Esports do get 3-0'd here, it's not their last chance. They'll be able to come back into it, but they will just need to win another match against another team. If it's TA, then they'll probably feel confident, unless TA have learned from their mistakes and head back. Up against Eris, they've not faced Eris in the playoffs yet, so you don't know. It's more of an unknown entity at this point. But Esperanza, will it be the final battlefield in this matchup? Or will it prove to be the tipping for Quick Esports? I talked about the psychology of being 2-0 down, or the psychology of feeling the wall behind you. And all the players are at their desks right now, and they feel that pressure on them. They feel the pressure of their own plays, they feel the pressure of their team. But now it's time to shake that pressure off, or use that pressure. Use it to lock in. Use it to clear up the weaknesses, and sharpen the offenses. Both teams here still running the Hazard. You and Zydra still on the Sojourn. 2 Genjis, a Pack, and Dip facing off at the start here. Lucy Carry. Very popular in the past. Willis takes down Keel. Gives you the speed, gives you the utility of the Suzu, but more importantly, that damage as well. Pack goes down as well. Usually to clean this one up, get some movement on this bot. That's what Quick Esports need to continue to do. Can't celebrate yet, you just need to take position, move forward here. French Kipster. Quick Esports still employing the strategy of typing in the chat. I'm sure Quick Esports are trying to employ the strategy of shutting them up. But there's a lot more action that needs to be taken. Here's Zydra. That's a full charge here on their railgun. Frostale's not pushing in quite yet. Needs to keep it up. Kiwi's coming up to Tony Rush very slowly compared to Yoham, who has it ready. They could very much use that ultimate to trade for the forward spawn. Willis right in and mucking with the backline. Atsuki, on the other hand, takes down Kiwi. Kiwi falls as well. And that will secure them, that forward spawn. Great wall placement. Frogs tries to keep themselves alive with their own wall. But they will eventually go down. They tried to get themselves out there, and you saw Gogo trying to help, but that was a bit of a stagger, giving a lot more movement. And yeah, Pack going down. A lot of excitement here, especially if you're a Quick fan, but still plenty of time on the board. You cannot take any of this for granted, especially with Kiwi, who is going to have the Kitsune rush. Downpour's ready from both sides. Frogs just need to be careful where they're positioning here because they're quite alone. It's a good off angle. Doesn't find anyone with the downpour actually. No one caught. There was the reverse. Great Suzu timing, but does not catch Gogo, who's going to go down. Blade pulled out by Dip. And this is looking very strong. Strength to strength. Frost Tails spent 2 of their big pennies there. Didn't get anything from it. Ryder and Kyo are both going to have the overclock, but most importantly, Gogo's going to have Sound Barrier to give Kyo that extra benefit of the doubt. There's the opening. Dip finds Kyo. That's huge. Now it's going to have to be Pack that pulls Blade, but they're down also. Quick Esports No, they might actually just fully capture Esperanza in one foul swoop. Someone's on the point. It's Crocs. They're getting a lot of punishment for that. Keo trying to bully their way through. Able to take down Willis. That's the opening that they need. Sound Barrier gave them a lot of that extra health to stay alive, get back onto point. And whoa, that was close. That was damn close. There is a hair line between that barrier and the full cap. A hairline. That's what that map was in the balance of. But if I had a penny for every push map I've seen where a complete reverse sweep happens, I'd have quite a few pennies. But at this point, what Frosttails would need to do is practically capture the map. They would need to full cap Esperanza now. Got 3 less minutes to do it. Great wall placement. Crocs ends up over the wall. Able to stay alive based off of that. Max pulled the blade. A lot of damage onto Willis. Forces the resources of the support out. Now it's about falling up on that. Great wall placement by Willis. Able to chop go down. But that's not a great trade. Keo makes that trade even more painful for them. And now, yeah, Quick Esports, they just need to gather themselves. They've got so much room to play with, they don't need to rush anything. But of course they want to try and get back into control. Crocs with the downpour here. Missed it last time. Base of a good TP from Johan. We'll be looking to land it this time. In the corner there to the right. To catch Willis off at the very least. Downpour comes down. And again, I'm not sure if anyone got caught by Dan. Crocs went so deep, completely alone. A tragic mistake means that Willis can follow up. Dip cleaning up also. Just keep Willis alive, 2 HP. Pack able to find them. That is going to slow down this push. They might not be able to secure the 4 spawn. Depending on who gets back first. I think Crocs gets back here pretty quick anyway. So they won't be able to get forward spawn. Continue rush, overclock, ready from Frosttails, but so much ready from Quick Esports. Quick Esports, the way that they need to play this is not to overspend. They need to either bait Frosttails into spending first, or just definitely defend. Zydra with a brilliant opener onto Kiwi, who was able to get their Kitsune rush. Great headshot to Kyo. Zydra finally stepping up to the plate. Kyo now feeling that competition. I was saying Zydra felt. Kyo not getting a lot done, and Frosttails, they did spend their Kitsune rush. With Esports though, they still have both Blade and Rush. They're gonna get their forward spawn. We're getting very close to the 3-minute mark. Oh, Dip almost went down. Does actually follow up from Crocs, who snipes them with those spikes. And you can see Quick Esports deciding, okay, let's just go in hard, see if we can get anyone here and force something out at the very least. Johan finding Crocs and Zydra finding Gogo is going to be a good start, but it's not going to go towards a good end. Neither team spending any of their ultimate chips quite so far. Those check marks at the ready. Frosttails have found themselves in the advantage in that regard, and what Quick Esports are doing really well is these off angles. I feel like there's a little bit better support on these splits, and it's meaning that Zydra's just getting a lot more done on Esperanza than we have seen previously. And I eat my words immediately as Keo will take Zydra out with the overclock. The dip will go down also. This is very frugal spending from Frosttails also, as they know how many fights in a row they need to win. They only spend the overclock, and now they've got the rest of the ultimates ready. As Kiwi will build that Kitsune rush this next fight. That's going to be the butt scratch from Frosttails. What Quick Esports they need to do is find a way of just breaking this momentum. More importantly, and more tactically, they need to bleed Frosttails of ultimates. Big opener from Pack with the blade. Soundbarrier does need to be matched with it to keep them alive. Dip doesn't get too much done with their blade there. Natsuki though able to find a follow-up onto Go as Crocs goes down. Willis also. Zydra finds Keo. The bot has been stolen. Still some members of Frosttails alive, but Not able to touch the point as this forward spawn's been cancelled out here. But they will need to back up. Because right now, Zydra and Natsuki will find himself between the team of Frost Tails. Pack actually almost went down there to a nice clean shot there. We're approaching 90 seconds. Frost Tails, they have so much map to cover right now. Universe comes out, Keo finding Yoham. There's a good follow-up on it. But again, that is their last ultimate that they have at the moment. They can build overclock. Depp and Willis, though, doing their best to turn it around. Quick Esports in a very comfortable spot. Because they still have people in this fight that have ultimates. They've got Sound Barrier, they've got overclock. But again, they don't want to spend those without getting anything from it. They continue to push the point. Get their forward spawn. 1 minute remaining. Frost Tails from this point on need a pitch perfect play. They can't be making any large mistakes. And unfortunately for Keo, a lot of weight rests on the shoulders of this overclock. And don't quick know it. They force the Suzu already as they look to force out Keo. Downpour. The twist. Oh, just able to get out. I think with the double slide there. Keo goes down. That was really their main win condition. Pack unable to find any trades. Meanwhile, 30 seconds on the board. Like, we either need to win this fight or just very quickly get out. This is the last chance saloon for Frost Tails. Dip, easy in the chat. Very confident. Well, time to put the money where the mouth is. Very easy to do so when you're this much in the lead. In overtime on Esperanza. Zydra on the Tracer at the moment. Gonna be good at like pulling resources, but very classically, Kiriko's so good at dealing with them. Willis finds Keo immediately. The overclock on. Pack down. No blade. Dip pulls out their own blades. And Frost Tails will begin to fall out as Quick Esports find the magic number. And they look so much more confident on that backline of having the Lucio, the Kiriko, instead of having that Juno. But here's the thing for Quick Esports. That's the first step. We need 2 more steps if Quick Esports are to win this one, right? But they looked a lot cleaner there. They seemed a bit more on the ball with their ult tracking. They very much understood that overclock was the only ultimate ready in that second to last fight. They went immediately for it. Forced out the Suzu to try force out Suzu, and then immediately after that followed up on to Keo. Quick Esports were looking a lot better there. We're moving on to Servasa next. Flashpoint. Servasa is also a map where you could bring out the Junker Queen again, since Junker Queen was banned previously. Can't get banned out again. But yeah, it's a good match so far. I am now feeling what it should have been. I felt like this should have been closer from the start, but Quick Esports, it kind of gave 2 away. Dip saying easy in the chat at the end. There's them starting to maybe regain some outward confidence. And did you guys tell that Frost Tails were struggling? Because I saw a lot less chat from them in the second half of that map for sure. They were trying to lock in and recover that loss. But that was such a good push. All the way from the start of the map to practically the end of it. And just consecutive teamfight wins. And you know, you felt for a moment maybe they let it slip away when they lost some fights there. Forward spawn, Frost Tails, but Frost Tails just had to win so many fights in a row. Their ultimates, their usage of them had to be on point. But Quick Esports were a bit more on the ball and kind of bleeding them out, you know, forcing them out, zoning off those lanes. Take a little drink of my Viking mug. Oh, that was such a good drink, it put me back in focus. Line up being finalized now. I'll get any bans. But yeah, are we feeling it? Are we feeling a reverse sweep? Are we feeling like this is Quick Esports coming back into this one? You know, I feel the energy, you know? I feel the energy emanating from them. I feel the energy from Quick. They're not a team that's going to roll over easily. They're a team that definitely wants to get to the grand finals. They want to be fighting for a place in OWCS. Of course, just as important, they want the prize money of winning the Masters division. They've had such a good run so far, and it's been such a pleasure to watch them as well. Of course, you know, the run wasn't as good as Frosttails in terms of the regular season. They had a little bit. They had some hitches. They lost to some teams that realistically they really shouldn't have lost to. But you know that's the past, right? That's the journey we took to get here. Well, the journey is important, and learning from is important. Dwelling on it can be a bit detrimental. Let's have a look at that history. So yeah, lost 0-3 to TA. Well, we got that one back. Quick Esports got that one back. Yeah, lost 0-3 to Frosttails. They lost 2-3 0907. Lost 2-3 to Incendia as well. So Incendia 0907, Frosttails, TA were the teams that Quick Esports struggled enough with that they were unable to get the victory in those matches, and they had a lot of close matches as well. A lot of 5 maps series where you change a few things and they lose those ones, but they're able to keep a hold of it. Well, now they need to show it, right? Well, this just in, I have heard the India buff has been granted to the team of Quick Esports by Captain Prash. Now, I'll be honest, you know, I'm a Prash fan, right? I'm vice chair of the Prash committee, but the India buff hasn't been as good. It's been called into question, but still, it's something, right? And that just little something is what Quick Esports need. That little inspiration, that energy within themselves to be in that moment of competition. And to recognize that they just need to keep going. They just need to eyes forward, lock in. Ramatra and Tracer are the banned tanks. Sorry, well, Ramatra obviously, banned tank. Tracer banned damage. We have seen Tracer kind of played as a sort of backup. We did see it like an active chosen alternative to Genji. I think both teams have done best with Genji rather than Tracer. And then obviously matching it with the Sojourn. My headset is going out of charge and I don't have enough caster to throw to. I'm just going to awkwardly talk over me. There we go. Where are we? Get into the lobby. Get ready up. Will this be a map 5? Will this be Quick Esports on the comeback? It might just be. I have been present for matches that felt like they were about to reverse sweep and then just didn't in the end. And I don't want that feeling again. You know, I don't want to... Don't get my hopes up, Quick. Don't get my hopes up. Get your stocks up. Don't get my hopes up. That's the phrase I'll be running with. But yes, reverse sweep energy. I can feel it in the air. Otherwise, I'm just gonna have to put the pink sunglasses back on. But I don't want to do that. As we head into the next map, which still could very well be the final map, it is Servasa. Some talk again. More talk. A little bit of response from Dip there.
It's easy to outfight them.
And yes, the Frosttails do have the ability to play the Junker Queen, and I do love Junker Queen on this map. It works really well. On most of these points, I would say, if not all of them. And we saw Quick Esports kind of struggle against that, especially on Dorado. There were some specific setups on Dorado from Frosttails, to be fair. You have to imagine they know their rotations.
Let's send a message.
Both teams sticking with the Kiriko Lucio. No Junos here. Of course, Lucio able to provide a more consistent speed. And better on those angles, but without the orbital raise, you know, looking at sound barrier here. You're also looking at the ability to Suzu, the Rampage. That interaction works out a bit better for the side of Quick. As they just tee off here on the point. Fox just planting themselves there like a sturdy oak. But it's the oak that has the axe. Kyo goes down to Natsuki. That's a great opener. That pressure of the Sojourn gone. The railgun unable to be sprung upon any unwary foes. As Quick Esports will start the match with control of the first point. I want to see that aggression again. That's TP coming out there from Kiwi, and yeah, it was communicated. Willis immediately following up on it. And that's just going to stagger them a little bit. The percentage points on Flashpoint ticked up so quickly that any stagger is a huge blow. It'll already be 50% by the time that this fight starts proper. Oh god, Zyder going down. It's a bit of a reverse. Both of these Sojourns are of course under a lot of threat as the teams want to alleviate the pressure and take them out first. You see Willis and Dip in the backline. Dip on 1 HP will get hit by the kunai, and it's a good percentage. They did spend their sound barrier and it was not traded for any ultimate. I think Natsuki really should have held on to that one. They might feel the hurt of that lack of a trade. Since Frosttails, yes, they have a lower percentage right now, but they've got so much to play with as well as Quick. That sound barrier could have been the difference here. Tony Rush is going to be the opener just as Willis jumps in. Ain't no escape to that one. 1 HP. Gogo goes down. Fox finding Dip with the Rampage. Io finding 2. Natsuki Willis gonna fall, and they spend only 2 of those ultimates. Quick, they did trade only 1 ult for 2, but that ult is the overclock. That has been a fight winner, and will be a fight winner. 80 to 80 right now, percentage wise. You see something big. There's a blade pulled out from both sides. Hank getting that healing up a bit sooner than Dip, who can't quite go in on half health. Continue rush from Yoham. Gonna push them forward, but enough space is created that Frosttail's not feeling the hurt from it too much. Gogo gone though. Fox has a little less speed outside of the shout, but Willis went a little bit too hard there, is gonna feel the hurt. Rox is just absolutely subjugating Quick Esports from the point. And that is them beginning Servasa with the lead. It seems close, but in the small minutiae of the fights here, Frosttails are just playing a bit better in terms of ultimates. There's just small mistakes being made by Quick Esports. Of course, as I've said that, there is an elimination for them, so they're able to gain positioning on the point without any trouble. Of course, the idea to force Frosttails to spend the resources on their way here. If they could just kite shout out before the fight starts, and that's huge. Kitsune Rush coming out. Crocs decapitates Zydra. Executioner rather than the Queen. Willis will fall also, and that's all well 0% gained by Quick Esports because Frosttails had enough time to regain their composure by the time the point was unlocked. Crocs with the Rampage here. Of course, the idea is they want to force Suzu first, as Crocs was hiding in that corner, but got caught out. Has went very aggressive here into the back line. See, pack on. Back there, Dip finding Kyo and Go-Go actually. Pack gets a bit of vengeance. Messy enough for opportunities to be gained as Kiwi falls. You still need to push forward into Crocs, who is went on this kind of like awkward flank, finds Natsuki from it, and despite the fact that Quick Esports very confidently have the advantage right now, they still are the ones that need to push onto point. They just can't spend too many of these ultimates. Tuni Rush comes out from Yoham. It's a good kite there by Frosttails. Follow up with the downpour. They needed those ultimates. You know, it wasn't a matter of trading ultimates. It was a matter of, we need to win this fight. We need to get percentage on this point. We can't get into the map point and match point because that's too much pressure. 90% for play. This pack on this off angle. Kyo as well with their overclock. Both of those DPS will be matched by Zydra and Dip. It's Gogo who does not have the sound barrier. Meanwhile, Natsuki does. That sound barrier from Natsuki could be difference maker. And again, Frosttails, they hear an ultimate, they back up. That's an aggressive sound barrier from Natsuki, and the blade comes out to finish it. But 3 ultimates there. 3 ultimates used. Pack's hiding in the back line a little bit of a ninja, living up to the ninja name. Has got a force point. Some people will need to turn around. There'll be enough chaos, and then Blade can come out. That might be enough time for Kitsune Rush to come out if they even need it. And Zydra gets slashed. Point gets contested there by Frosttails. And yeah, Quick don't have much of a response. They overspent. And they find themselves in map point. Because there's no way 1 versus 4 is going to happen. And now, if you want a reverse sweep, folks, it's not just reverse sweep of the match. Reverse sweep of Servasa. And that India buff looks like it got nerfed by the devs. Plummeting into the backline as Grox takes Zydra out with the Gracie. Whilst Downpours gets Kyo from it. Go-Go also, but that's another fight lost where they invested an ultimate for it. That means that Grox can have a pretty good time with this Rampage. Again, all they really have to do right now is force out the Suzu. Well, this has went on to the Zarya. Bubbles will be good to keep them alive against the Axe, mainly. That Carnage Axe. And the Rampage also. Well, this just needs to build up this energy. Of course, Frosttails will know when they're out of bubbles. Depko caught a bit too far forward, gets taken out, and Esports need to figure out what they're doing. It's 40% on the board, and that's Natsuki down. Like Esports, it looks like they've ran out of steam. They used everything there. The adrenaline dumped on Esperanza, and now they're getting dumped on by Frosttails. 30% left for Quick Esports to get here. If they don't win this next fight, they will have lost the map. They will have lost the series. They will be knocked into the losers bracket. The Kitsune Rush Zydra used overclock, and immediately they got taken out. Pack with the headshots. This is devastating for them. Frosttails in such a strong position. And yeah, Kyo with their own overclock. Ain't no chance in hell you recontest it. 3-0 on Servasa. They made it look quick. They were not paid by the hour on that map. And by God, have they earned themselves that spot in the grand finals. Congratulations and GG to Frosttails, who not only are in the grand finals, that means they have secured their spot now to play for the promotion games to try and get into the OWCS. And they played very well there. And you can tell that there's still room for growth. They are a very strong team. And you could definitely see them beating some of the teams in OWCS, getting into OWCS, and kind of proving themselves further than the Masters tier in the FACEIT division. But alas, Quick Esports, their journey doesn't look as clean, as straight and narrow as some might have wanted. Quick Esports are knocked into the lower bracket. I don't know. I'll try and get a update on the other match. I'm not sure if it's happening at the same time or not, or what's going on with the other match. But they'll be up against Eris or TA. Both teams that they have some history with. So yeah, both Eris and TA have history with Quick. Quick won 3-2 against Eris, so it was close. It wasn't clean against Eris in the regular season. And of course, TA, Quick beat them in the playoffs. They've been beaten in the regular season. If it's TA again, it'll be the blow-off match to a series, a trilogy between those two teams. But Frosttails looked so comfortable. They did that so comfortably, and it makes you think, is there anyone that can actually beat Frosttails? Because they were the only team in the regular season to actually beat TA. They're confident against TA. I think Frosttails are in a great position. They can only lose to themselves at this point. I think Frosttails can get in their own head and be overconfident. That's the only way they lose. Because they're so refined in their play right now, and this patch seems to just work for them. But alas, that'll be it for myself. And thank you for watching Quick Esports. Their journey's not over, it just gets a lot harder from this point on. So just check the Quick socials for anything Quick related, as well as Quick Academy, of course. But Quick will not be out yet. They have another match. It'll be the lower bracket now. They've got another chance to make it to the grand finals and a chance to get vengeance against Frosttails. Thank you to Westy for producing and Jay for observing, and observing for more than just ourselves as well. I've been Gio, casting, if you can call it that, for you today. Don't forget to laugh loud and love yourself, folks. Good night.